The Greater Blue Mountains area, forming the central part of the Great Dividing Range, consists of 11,400 kilometers of sandstone plateaus, cliffs, mountaintops, and valleys. The hard, impermeable sandstone beds, undercut by softer, more easily eroded shales, created prominent slot canyons in the region. High cliffs with cascading waterfalls are now prevalent and attract tourist visits. The range is located in New South Wales and runs parallel to the coast, inland behind Sydney. The Blue Mountains National Park is a World Heritage Site, housing a diversity of species, walking tracks, history, and scenic spectacles. There are 6 areas of the park: Katoomba area, Blackheath area, Glenbrook area, Lower Gross Valley area, Mount Wilson area, and the Southern Blue Mountains area.
The Blue Mountains were formed about 300 million years ago, becoming home to over 1,000 plant species and more than 450 animal species. Before the arrival of European settlers, the land was mainly inhabited by the Gundurra and the Darug tribes, with documentation of their presence dating to around 22,000 years ago. When settlers first arrived in Sydney in 1788, the Blue Mountains were regarded as an impossible barrier to cross for Western expansion. Despite efforts to cultivate the land, the steep slopes proved efforts futile for agriculture in the late 1700s. The first successful expedition in 1813 was led by 3 European settlers, Gregory Blaxland, William Lawson, and William Charles Wentworth. Soon after, Governor Arthur Phillip named the northern region Carmarthen Hills and the southern region Lansdowne Hills, but it was later renamed due to the iconic blue haze blanketing the mountains. The haze is a result of the sunbeams hitting a mixture of the oil from the eucalyptus trees, dust particles, and water vapor. In the 1850s, the discovery of gold triggered a rush of prospectors seeking their next fortune. This led to the creation of the Blue Mountains Railway for prospectors to have easy access across the steep mountains. However, the influx of settlers into the natives' territory caused growing tensions between the two communities, as the settlers were cutting off their resources by building barriers for agricultural purposes. In 1824, due to the increasing hostilities, Governor Darling launched a military campaign on the indigenous people to weaken their resistance to settlement. Describing the conflict, William Lawson's son wrote, "We have now commenced hostilities against them in consequence of their killing a great number of shepherds and stockmen, but afraid we shall never exterminate them. They have such an extensive mountainous country for them to flee from their pursuers." The violence on the Aboriginal population continued for decades to follow, pushing them out of their homeland. Over the next 100 years, the area gained more attraction and visitors to see the flourishing wildlife, and in September 1959, the Blue Mountains was officially made into a national park. And in 2000, the Greater Blue Mountains area was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its vast biodiversity. Today, the Blue Mountains is the most visited national park in New South Wales.
455 different species of animal were recorded in the Blue Mountains Fauna Inventory Report. Key native birds include the eastern spinebill, the crimson rosella, and the laughing kookaburra. Reptiles and amphibians include the green and golden bell frog, the Blue Mountains tree frog, the eastern water dragon, and the Blue Mountain water skink, a lizard that is only found in New South Wales and is currently endangered and protected. Mammals and other native animals include the tiger quoll, the yellow-bellied glider, the dingo, the common brush-tail possum, the common wombat, platypuses, the eastern bent-winged bats, koalas, which can be found in eucalyptus trees, and the eastern gray kangaroo. In terms of flora, the Greater Blue Mountain area is one of the most diverse areas on Earth, one of the 3 most diverse for scleromorphic species. 85% of the Blue Mountains cover is dry, sclerophyll forest of eucalypt trees, with smaller areas consisting of rainforests, heaths, wetlands, and exposed rock faces. Native plants include the warata, the dwarf purple flag, the flannel flower, the smoke bush flower, the Banksia marginata flower, the Banksia tree, gum tree and eucalyptus trees, and tree ferns. There are 99 confirmed species of eucalypt in the Blue Mountain National Park, 6 of which are threatened. These range from blue gums, which are 60 meters tall, to narrow-leaved apple and the scribbly gums, which are gnarled woodland species, to common mountain mallee. This diversity in flora and fauna led to the Blue Mountains being listed as a World Heritage Site, as the area represents the quintessential elements of the Australian bush ecosystems.
Due to the violent history of the colonization of the Blue Mountains and concerns about Aboriginal heritage erasure, a proposal for the addition of an Aboriginal name to the park to honor the natives' ownership of the land was made this past July. The name is Gulumana, meaning koala place. There has not been any updates about the proposal since this past summer, so it is inconclusive as to whether the name is being officially added or not. Current threats to the greater Blue Mountains area include climate change and bushfires, invasive plant and animal species like foxes, horses, cats, cattle, and deer, habitat alteration from mining and quarrying, and noise pollution from local construction. The mountains are prone to landslides due to stream erosion from severe wet weather events. One recent example is a landslide in Wentworth Falls that occurred in 2022, killing 2 people. The area is also subject to bushfires, the worst occurring a few years ago in 2020, causing nearly 80% of the region to be burned. Though the land is recovering from the fires, there are still concerns that the overall biodiversity will be significantly reduced, and the area will become uninhabitable for many species. To prevent fires, the NSW National Wildlife and Park Service monitors weather and fire conditions and enacts fire bans during the bushfire danger period from October to March. A total fire ban means that no fire can be lit in the open. These are reserved for days that a fire is likely to escape and become widespread. Total fire bans are enacted by the NSW Rural Fire Service. A park fire ban means that any campfire or fuel stoves are prohibited, as the risk of a fire is very high. Park fire bans are enacted by NPWS. In the recent past, an outdated sewage system and pollution from coal mining caused significant harm to the local environment and the health of the local communities. To address this, environmental policies have since been put in place on the local coal mining operations to keep them from contaminating waterways with waste. These imperatives have been shown to improve the overall water quality. How is the NPWS contributing to conservation efforts? Through the Saving Our Species program, the NPWS aims to protect endangered species by instating predator-free areas, which are fenced-off areas to block larger predators. To ensure that Aboriginal heritage is preserved, the NPWS works closely with Aboriginal people on park management to honor their connection to the land. Feral animal control is an important initiative to protect vulnerable species in the parks. The parks are continuously monitored for any invasive species to remove, such as pigs, goats, or cows. Not only is this to reduce unwanted predators, but these animals also harm the regeneration of local flora from bushfire damage by eating the plants. To preserve the natural beauty of the Blue Mountains, it is our responsibility as visitors to respect the land we walk on. Here's how you can protect the park. Stay on the path. Keep habitats safe by sticking to the marked trails. Smoking is prohibited. Pets are prohibited. Check fire alerts from the NSW NPWS before making any campfires. Leave no trace. Anything you bring into the park must leave the park. It is illegal to litter in the park. Respect wildlife. If you encounter any wildlife on your walk, do not approach it. Give it space and let it pass.
So my favorite part about the Blue Mountains is definitely the waterfalls. I especially like Fairy Falls, which is in a town called Lawson. So I just like all the hiking trails and walking and getting out of the city, and it's a good escape to nature.
My favorite part about the Blue Mountains was the Three Sisters Point, because I really enjoyed the view and the story that came behind it, because it let me kind of play with my own imagination to like what exactly really happened to make the form of the three rocks.